Yeah, no, I mean, I think the biggest thing that Chris and team have helped me with is just peace of mind, right? Like, I run a property management company for long-term rentals, and one of the hardest things to do in that business is um, keep keep your customer base, as in your tenants, happy, right, and keep everybody quiet and get things done, right.
And I think that second property you mentioned there is pretty interesting because there's a lot of comparable data. Because there's 14 units in that complex. This one in particular, as being an owner yourself and chatting with some of the other owners, now I manage several others in that particular complex. It's outperforming all the other properties by like 25 to 30%.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the decor. Would you agree with that?
For sure, yeah. I mean, we have a direct comparable unit right next door to us that launched the same exact time as we did, and there's a significant difference between the two, and we know the data between them. And while it's a nice sister property next to us that we combined as two, but there's clearly an advantage to having the more professionally decorated unit compared to the non. So.
For any viewers, there's actually a video talking with that owner, Joey Dumas, where we talk about his revenue. So you can kind of do some dissection between the two to see the variance between revenue there. And so I'm just going to talk through kind of some year by year results. I know you're really familiar with just kind of pricing and the overall market in terms of like economics of supply and demand and how that's changed in Nashville. And, the high level is basically 2.5 years ago, there were anywhere from like 3,000 to 3,500 listings in the city, and now there are 7,200. So supply has increased dramatically. And so here's the property results. So for 2022, I'll just speak in respective terms, 803 first and then Meharry 1 second. So 2022, at 803, we did $93,000 in revenue at a 79% occupancy. Meharry 1 was 82,000 at a 71% occupancy. 2023 was 83,000 at 72% occupancy, and Meharry 1 was 50,000 at a 66% occupancy. And actually, I said this incorrect. Above it was 88 or 81% for Meharry 1 occupancy. And then 2024 so far, we're at 38 grand and 29 grand and an 83% occupancy and 62% occupancy. So we've definitely seen some price pressures. However, across all of that, I guess using one example for 2024, 803 is at 38 grand, which means you're going to end up somewhere in the like 76 grand average revenue, where the market during that time frame is actually only doing 55 grand for home.
Sure, yeah.
So, one thing that we've done with your properties, as we do with all of ours in the portfolio, is we take an Airbnb only perspective of that. And I know we started off trying to do Airbnb and Vrbo, and then we moved just to Airbnb to drive all traffic through there in terms of reviews. Do you remember what that kind of decision-making process was like?
Yeah. So I think early on, what we found was that we were kind of splitting attention to some of these other sources. And we found that like 95+% of our bookings was coming directly from Airbnb. And the ones that were coming from other platforms, the user interface was really clunky. The payment systems were a little clunky. Airbnb kind of had the best overall customer experience when it came to the owner and manager standpoint. So I think we made that pivot a while ago to go strictly to Airbnb, as it was the leading source of where all our bookings were coming from, or a strong majority of them were coming from. So I think it made sense to double down on that platform, focus on getting the reviews there, and really going after the larger pool of shopper consumers when it comes to guests.
So one of our tenets is within our company is just to make sure that we have systems in place to where it's great every time, but issues do happen and we need to make sure that we're responsive.
Sure.
Do you, in your experience and seeing us operate, have you seen us be responsive, and like, how do you see us kind of catering to the guest needs?
Yeah. And I I think I'm in a unique position where I still, see all the communications that are coming through, and they're all our responses are timely. As in, someone has an issue, there's somebody that's within 5 to 10 minutes at most getting back to them. Um, uh, Chris and team have put a lot of things in place to make the experience a little bit more seamless, whether it comes to maintenance requests. We have, I guess, as this business has scaled, they've been able to, have more cleaners around to come address issues. In fact, we had somebody yesterday that, complained about something they found when they walked in. It was a very small cleaning issue, and they were able to get a team out there within an hour to fix it and make the customer happy. And I think those type of things, like, lead to good experiences, good reviews, and also people to come back and want to stay at your place. And so yeah, it's been a lot of peace of mind for myself in that I don't have to handle any of these things. I don't have to be responsive at all to any issues. And so yeah, it's been completely hands off for me. And I felt like the team has been completely professional and responsive, and and getting our guests everything that they need, but also like pushing back to when things aren't. You have the inverse sometimes where guests can ask for unreasonable things, and Chris has done a really good job of holding firm and not letting people extort us for bad reviews or things like that, and when it wasn't warranted. So I think there's been a happy balance there overall. So.
Well, I think that's all I really wanted to touch on today. Unless there's anything you think I'm missing that might be relevant to share to any potential, Boost customer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the biggest thing that Chris and team have helped me with is just peace of mind, right? Like, I run a property management company for long-term rentals, and one of the hardest things to do in that business is keep your customer base, as in your tenants, happy, right? And keep everybody quiet and get things done, right? And as an owner, I want to go to sleep at night knowing that everything's getting taken care of and my property's in good shape, and know that there's a balance between making tenants happy and making the owner happy, and sometimes they contradict each other, so you've done a fantastic job on that, and then also keeping me updated on what's going on, and keeping the property just performing well, and we're in a competitive environment, so we know directly, like the competition that was managing the units next to us and how terrible they were. They were claiming, "Oh, we're on 300 different sites." To me, it's a lot of noise, and it's a data point they like to use to say that they're doing more and getting your property more exposure, but in reality, it's not helpful and not producing any results. And I don't think all these companies really are honest about that. So yeah, that'd be the last thing I'd talk about, and I sleep peacefully at night knowing that my investment and the property is in good hands. So.